we've got an informal question. And it's basically like, so there are a lot of people out there that struggle with like, they'll have friendships, and then um there'll be like a long period where they like don't speak to one another. And there's like this, and we've kind of been conditioned by society to like see this as like a generally like bad thing, right? Like we don't want to, like, typically we kind of have this unwritten rule that like for most people, that like constant communication is like a fundamental part of friendship or any relationship, really. So like, we even have a word for it, like ghosting, and so and and like that makes sense, right? Like we want some amount of consistency in our life. It makes sense that these social standards have been made. I feel like whenever I say that something is a social standard, that like there's a bunch of like negative there's like a bunch of negative connotations surrounding that. And like I don't want it to seem like just because it's like, oh, we live in a society sort of stuff. Like I think some social standards are good. Like I don't think that they are all bad by any means. Um and so basically it's like, so like imagine like you have like a friend and stuff like that, and then like you like and then like some people will literally do this or like report to have done this sort of thing, but like some people just like they have like no object permanence when it comes to people. Like they just like straight up forget that certain people are like in their life. I don't know if anyone like relates to that, but like that's like what I've seen a lot of people like report happen to their relationships, is that like it's like it'll be like 5 months, and it's like it's not like I don't care about that person, but I just like I don't know, I just like forgot to text them. It was just like like I've just been so busy, like we're so busy like making it like day to day, that it's really hard to like remember sometimes that, like, about our relationships in life. Which once again, like this isn't this is bad in the sense that it's not like optimal, but like, it makes sense. You're not like a bad person if like you forget about people. It doesn't mean that like you don't care about them. Like there are a million reasons for why you could do anything. Um so, like if and so a lot of people will have this problem, right? Where it's like, I haven't talked to this person in forever. I don't know how to reinitiate the conversation. Makes sense, right? Like it's just like you want to be like, because like there's this elephant in the room of like, hey, we haven't spoken in this long and everything like that. So like I I I recently I got the opportunity to like have like a workshop sort of thing at my residency. Um and I was able to, and like a very very wise teacher. She was awesome. I and like she basically encouraged us to, whenever there was awkwardness at any point, she like always actively encouraged us to like bring it out into the open. And like the way she put it was so beautiful, so it's succinct. She was just like, I mean, just because we like it's a social standard to like ignore the awkwardness because we don't want to make them feel awkward, like whether we bring out the awkwardness is still there. Like we can't just like pretend that because we don't acknowledge it, it's not there. That's like the whole point of addressing like the elephant in the room. She put it way more succinctly than I just put it, even. But like I just kind of wanted to explain it because like you guys obviously don't have the context and everything like that. And so I thought that that was like super cool. Um, I and like and I truly think that like I completely, once again, I don't think it's bad overall that we ignore awkwardness. I think that there's a function to everything. I think if it was a wholly bad thing that had no upsides to it, no one would do it. Um, and so yeah, I'm not out here telling you that like that's it's not, it serves zero purpose. You serve zero purpose. Like I'm not telling you that. I'm just saying that like this sort of thing has a purpose, but like I agree that it's not really optimal. And so like first off, what I would recommend is that like this sounds really weird, but like if you feel awkward, I feel like a lot of awkward people can relate to this. If the other person tells you that they're feeling awkward, then like you'll feel way better about, then like you'll both feel less awkward because you've diminished the emotional energy of like holding in the fact that you're feeling awkward. And you have also, so like fun fact about like forming relationships, bonds are made through shared emotional experience. And so like people will form the closest bonds with those who they feel like a strong connection, those who they can relate to emotionally. Like it doesn't matter if you grew up in the exact same circumstance, if you have the same interests and everything. Like you both want to like have gone through something where you can draw parallels between the way you felt, because that will like make you feel safe around the other person. And so, if I'm feeling awkward, I just straight up tell the other person, and I feel like everything just becomes way smoother from then on out. And so very first thing I would say, if you're in that sort of situation, when you address them about this, literally say like, "Hey, I know this is kind of awkward because we haven't talked." Because like think about like the opposite. Like think about like if you try and like somehow ignore the fact that it's been a long time. Like it's kind of weird. Like it's just like you both know, and it's going to inhibit the way you speak. And so like being entirely honest with one another, but both in like the way you feel, even if it's like an awkward thing to disclose, the awkward is going to be there no matter what. So you might as well just bring it out, and then it will slowly diminish rather than like building even, because like you're not addressing it outright. So like let's say that like you kind of already know this. You're just kind of like, yeah, I know. Like tell them. No, like I've done that. I always say like how awkward it is whenever that stuff. What else do I do? Okay, fair enough. So like you've started off your message and you're like, hey, it's kind of awkward. We've done this and everything like that, and like you know I would so I guess this question, I guess I should make a distinction. Like we can talk about like how it is when you are the one. Um, we can talk about how it is when you are the one who is like who ghosted the other person, for lack of a better term, and like they're um and like we can do one for like if you're the person trying to reach out to the person, because obviously it's very dependent on like why they left, or why they haven't been speaking to you and stuff. Obviously very very variable thing. It's not like a blanket thing I can share. um but like let's say you're like reaching out to someone who you haven't spoken with in a while because you have social anxiety, because you were just that busy and stuff like that, because like you were ashamed about something, because you thought they didn't like you anymore. Like there's a million reasons to, but like basically you should start off the message by being like, "Hey, this is awkward." And then if you feel comfortable sharing it, straight up just tell them why you haven't. Like it sounds like, it either sounds like, oh, I obviously can't do that, or like water is wet, like, yeah, obviously tell. But like, people will struggle with like the very basics of this, and so we need to be like mindful of that and explain like, okay, yeah, the instinct to do that is correct. So hey, I'm sorry, like like I know this is really awkward because we haven't spoken in this long. I didn't do this because of I didn't talk to you because blah blah blah. And like, if it's something that they did and now you're like, if you're angry at the other person and you could talk about it, like the answer does not change. Like literally just say like, I was feeling very frustrated because of what went down, and then like state what like your current emotional state. So you can be like, I was anxious back then, I'm still anxious now, or I'm not anxious. And then like so, because you want to provide, because like in order for things to make sense and for them to feel safe, you want to tell them what the circumstances were that led up to that, because that's like the big energy that's hanging in the room until you do that. So be like, so if you're the one who like ghosted them, then like ideally be like, hey, I feel awkward. Um, I left because of this back then. And the reason I'm texting you now is because like I feel strong enough to do that, or like I'm in a place where I'm willing to talk about it, depending on if like it was because of like your anxiety or because you were angry or whatever. It's a very variable thing that I'm trying to share, so I hope this makes sense, even though I'm making like a million different caveats to it. Um, and so you really, so that's like a huge thing in communication in general, is that like you want to be really open about like every step of your emotions. So like this even includes like secondary emotions. So you can be like, "Hey, I left because I was really angry." And then like even if like and even now you can be like, you can just straight up say like I honestly I'm honestly confused myself about why I'm texting you, because I'm not in a place where I'm ready to forgive you. But like you could say like part of me hates you, part of me misses talking to you, and I'm like wondering if we could rekindle that. And like if you were just socially anxious, then you could, then the example of that on the other end would be like I felt very socially anxious. And like I'm confused because I'm still very socially anxious right now, but something about this really makes me want to talk with you about it. Um, and so yeah, once you've got those emotions out of the, so you need to just to review, say what you were feel, say it's awkward to talk to you if it is awkward, or like say like, hey, I'm like nervous, or hey, like you may think that it's like giving control to them, or it's overly formal, or it'll make them feel awkward but think about that, like if someone says like, hey, I feel a little awkward about this. Oh my gosh, we reached the bottom of the mines. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. um but like there but let's think about this. So like, what was I saying? Oh gosh, I totally lost track. So like think about this. If you're socially anxious and someone tells you like, "Hey, I feel a little awkward about this." How does that make it? Do you feel more awkward because they said they felt awkward? Odds are no. Like I can't speak for everyone, but I know I sure don't. And many people I know, they feel better knowing the other person also feels vulnerable. Especially because of what I talked about, where it's like the more we share certain emotions, not literally like, "Oh, you're sad, I'm sad." Like that, it's not empathy, it's more like we're going through something similar and having a similar emotional response to it. That's what causes that. And so like, um so you can tell them like, hey, like I feel awkward, and then that's not going to make them feel worse. It's actually going to make them feel better. It might even make you feel awkward, but understand that like, okay, I'm literally making this more awkward to so I can avoid 2 seconds of feeling awkward, even though I know it's not even going to make it awkward. And so like from there you can just, you can be like, okay, well I know that like I should probably still talk about it, and just be like, yeah, I'm going to feel awkward for a second, but like it's okay. I'll feel awkward for a second and then it'll pass. Easier said than done for a lot of different people depending on your mental state. Um so yeah, you want to be honest every step of the way about your emotions. Be like, okay, yeah, I feel awkward about this. I feel awkward about reaching out because of the emotions surrounding it, everything, depending on whatever those are. And then state the purpose of you doing it. It sounds so overly formal, but like this is how you can have effective, because it's either this or do the thing that you probably already do, which is like the, oh yeah, cool, how are you, like it's awkward no matter what. You might as well take the formal and efficient awkward than like the repressed like quote unquote casual approach where you're like, oh, I'm just feeling like, yeah, like it just I that's just my opinion. That's what I think you should do. um but then just state like, these are the emotions attached to it. This is why I'm choosing to reach out in the first place. Because obviously, if you just ghost to them, it's just like, I'm reaching out because like you're still my friend and I really care about you, and I don't want my absence to convince you otherwise. But I understand. So like, and then put the ball in their court non-judgmentally. If you're nervous about what they're gonna say, like just say like, you can just say like, I was wondering, you can just say like, what was I gonna say? Like, say like, how do you put the ball in their court? So you can go like, I d- I was wondering what your I was wondering what your thoughts on this are and everything. So like don't lead them in a specific way. A lot of people who get really anxious will start leading the other person to behave in the way they want. This is kind of a weird concept for people to understand, but like people who are socially anxious are often very subtly manipulative. And we think of like manipulative as like this terrible, terrible thing. But like, think about it. Like, people are manipulative because they need people. Their internal state is dependent on what the other person does. So they will like use things like guilting and leading their answers and saying things that evoke a certain response out of people because they can't deal with the uncontrollability of the other person. This is very common in people with like anxious attachment styles and stuff like that. So like you want to not do that. So what you want to do is you still want to put the ball in their court and say like hey, I know it's and just like non-judgmentally ask their opinion. Don't say like, do you still want to be friends or something like that. You can get to that later. You can like, I'm not saying there's no time for that, but like start off with like, how do you feel? Like, think about it this way. Like, think about what like closed communication versus like open communication looks like. Think about like how freely you felt to speak when like people ask you questions. Like, don't you think, would you want to do, like, rather than what do you want to, how do you feel? Like, and even then, that's even a bad example because you could say like, how do you feel about going to the store today? Instead of like, what did you want to do today? Like, so it feels scary because in order to have a good conversation, we actually need to relinquish conversational control to them. But like, that's why you start off stating your intention, because then it'll at least be guided, but you won't be controlling their response in any way. This works the exact same way with like confessions of love. Like, you don't want to be like, this is just my opinion. Like, I feel like a lot of people actually can like totally disagree with me here, but like my opinion is that like you should be, when you're in a situation like that, you should be like, how do I put this? Like, my preferred way to like do a confession, if I'm like helping someone with that sort of thing, is to like tell them, is to, instead of being like instead of guiding them and being like, because like, you know, people will do this, they'll be like, they'll like dump all this emotional energy on them and be like, oh, I need you, I like, I do, like, this is why, these are all the reasons I want you. They'll put all this like pressure on them, and then like that could even psych out someone who actually does like you, because then they're gonna feel all this pressure. Same reason that people like want to bail on their wedding day. Like, so like it's just a lot of pressure to be put on at once. Like, this person's emotional state, the entire emotional being is like thrust upon me. Like, that's really difficult, you know? Like, that's not an easy thing to do. And so like I prefer to kind of have that communication by just being like, here are my like, hey, like, I like you. How do you feel about me? Like, not like, do you want to go? Because then like, I don't know how to describe this. This is what kind of I've noticed about like awkward people versus not awkward people, is that like awkward people will push the emotional energy in one direction. So that way, if you were to disagree with them or not go along with what they are saying, you either like, if the momentum is going in this direction, having your own agency and not going along with it, whatever they say, either it requires some friction, it requires some pushback. So I noticed that a lot of awkward people don't leave things open, and this is why we see such an overlap between people who are anxious and people who are awkward, because they are used to wanting to control the conversation. I'm talking about like a specific type of awkward. Obviously, there's an awkward where it's like, yeah, do whatever you want. Like, you know, like I'm good with anything like that. There's that sort of awkward. Like, but like I'm talking about like the awkward people who like kind of like make the room go silent, for lack of a better term. It's because like like, I'm thinking of people who are like super like, we should do this thing. And then like, by not matching their energy and by saying anything that is not hell yeah, they have set a momentum that like you, by not copying them or going along with them, creates this like friction implicitly. And so like think about like the least awkward conversations you've ever had. I like awkwardness is caused by like intent that does not come to fruition. And so like if there's no intent and you're just collaborating, that makes for a really good discussion. And so like how do you collaborate effectively? This is how you communicate, guys. You go like, hey, you go like, hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. What are you bringing to the table? Don't say like, I really hope that you bring this to the table, or shouldn't you bring this to the table? Instead be like, this is what I'm bringing to the table. What are you bringing to the table? And then if they don't do that, if like, let's say like you are secretly hoping for like, you are secretly hoping for one thing and they don't bring that thing. Then after they have had their chance to uninhibitedly speak, say, like, then you can accurately respond with all the things that you want to say, all the emotional stuff. Once you have successfully not guided the conversation, then you can start doing things like saying like, oh, hey, you like, I really want to respect what your feelings are and stuff. I will say that like, I feel very awkward, or I feel very sad to hear that this is your thoughts surrounding this thing. Do you guys get what I mean? Like, this is how you, like, it sounds so weird when I put it. Like, I'm trying to think of how to, I feel like an example might be good. Like, so like, I'm gonna try and make like a fake conversation for like an awkward person reaching out. Like, and then we'll see. We'll just see where this goes. I'm just gonna like completely randomly do this. But like, so it'll be like, hey person A, I mean, hey person B, I I feel kind of awkward reaching out like this because I know that like elephant in the room, we haven't talked in this amount of time. Um, I um I know the reason I haven't talked with you in this long is because of this, and like I understand if you have whatever emotions are attached to that. I don't expect you to like be totally neutral about it. But the reason I'm reaching out is because I wanted to, I still want to be friends with you, and I wanted you to like know that, because I feel like I'm in a headspace where like, even though I'm still worried it's going to happen again, I still feel like it's that I might ghost you. I still want to reach out and let you know that like, no matter what happens, like, you're my friend, and I still want to get whatever my brain can get. Like, I want to whatever days my brain will let me speak to you, I want to like do that. And I'm trying my best to make sure that it doesn't happen again, but I can't promise anything. Like, what are your thoughts? And like the other person can be like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. It was kind of shitty of you to do that, and I'm a little upset at you for doing that sort of thing. I'm not like I get you're going through your like, and then like what I would tell the second person to do is be like, is like, honestly share their emotions, and then also share the conflicting emotions, even if it sounds like you're sending mixed signals. It's a little conflicting for me, because like, on the one hand, I want to be supportive of your mental health, and on the other hand, like I feel like you're not like doing your half of the relationship, and I understand that that's not entirely your fault, but like, it also doesn't change that like, I have like needs in the relationship. Like, I want to be able to talk to my friend, and so like, I don't know how to help that, but I also don't want to cut you off. So like, I'm just being honest. I don't have an answer. I'm just like confused here. Like, I don't know what to do. And then like person A would be like like, that's okay. I totally understand. What like 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 let's try and figure this out together, or I'm gonna try and figure this out, whatever you want to do past that point. But then there's like a dialogue, like this isn't about like how to carry the conversation past that point. That's just how, from both angles, I think a healthy conversation would go. It's just, you're fully disclosing intention, you're fully disclosing emotions, even if they are conflicting or to you feel awkward to disclose. And then you openly ask the other person for their thoughts on your thoughts. Like, if you're angry, don't be like, so you should feel bad. If you're angry, just be like, I am angry. What's your thoughts on the fact that I'm angry? And like this, and once again, this all sounds just so weird to people who don't talk like this. I'm not even like telling people that like they need to agree with me on this. This is just what I've found makes for very effective communication, because it feels very and like, here's the golden ticket. Just straight up even say like, yeah, it feels like, I'm going to be real with you. It feels really awkward even like telling you this. Like it feels really awkward and formal, but like I'm hoping that we have like some amount of like good healthy communication going forward, because I'm talking to you this way. So like, even because we always think that like, this is the problem, is that like, because people don't talk like this is why there's so many layers of BS that we need to get through. And like, we're basically like doing like parallel escape rooms that the other is constructing. And it's like, why don't you just say what you're thinking? And it's like, well, no. And like in society, we're just like, oh no, because that's like weird. Like, you don't want to just say, that's so fake and overly formal and stuff. It's like, you're being fake and overly formal by being casual. Like, do you get how like what I'm describing to y'all is like so much more genuine and real than like someone who's out here being like, hey, what's up? And then like a few minutes go by and it's like, not much. How are you? And it's like, oh, like, do you guys get how like that is playing 4D chess and not the like formal way that I'm describing? Like, I get that it will make you feel uncomfortable because like you haven't done it before, but not only am I telling you that it will actually get easier as you do it. I guess I can plant these. I'm not only telling you guys that this will get easier over time, I am also I'm also telling you guys that like that the way you're doing it is already awkward. Like, you already have to deal with the awkward. You're just more okay with this type of awkward because you've been conditioned to be more okay with it. Like, you're more okay with playing the like middle school like game of like, hey, how are you? Not much. I mean, I'm fine, I guess. Cool. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I feel like people who have done this sort of thing just know this from experience. Isn't that like exhausting to live that sort of friendship? Like this, no wonder people get exhausted with friends and then end up leaving each other and are like, oh yeah, I have such fake friends and stuff. It's like, these are like the ways in which you guys are fake to each other. Like, that's like, think about how I'd be exhausted if like the way that I talk to my friends was shrouded in like 18 levels of like irony and like forced casualness. Like, think about that. Like, there's such a thing as forced casualness. Like, because we feel it, right? Like, when what we really want, because like we ask people in private, like, what do you really want to say to this person? And then like they pour their heart out and what comes out is like so raw. And it's just like, I know that like it's awkward, but like I really want to talk about this thing. Like, that's what people actually want to do. They want to talk with people about this stuff. but we're so caught up in our like cultural customs that like we don't have effective, clear communication with one another. Um, and so yeah, like, I think communication, whether it's romantic or it's platonic or whatever, I think communication is all the same. Just like clearly state your intentions without judgment. And if you do have judgments and you can't hold them back, then you can phrase judgments in a non-judgmental way. Like you can be like, part of me is really angry at you for doing this, but I also know that you had a reason. But then also that first part keeps fighting back and says no. Like if you guys are conflicted and you're like, there's no point in me talking because my thoughts don't make sense, like then like that's something you can talk about. Congrats, you've gone from having nothing to talk about to having something to talk about. Like that's a good thing. Don't like not talk because you're like, oh well, like think about like why anxious people don't jump in on conversations. It's because it's not like they're no thoughts head empty. That's how we perceive it as someone with social anxiety. But think about like what's literally going in their mind. Your mind actually has way more thoughts than the other people. It's just that you perceive it as nothing coming up because to you, nothing of value is coming up. So every time you have a thought, you're like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. So you have all these different thoughts coming and like none of them are good enough. And then your mind, and then like, what's your conclusion? Oh, none of them were good enough to say. And then like and then how do we rationalize that? Oh, I had nothing to say and I was so awkward and stuff. So it's like, it's the same thing. Like you guys, like this stuff gets easy. The reason this sort of conversation is so much easier than what y'all have probably been doing is because like, is because you guys have all of this stuff within you. You have all of these thoughts and everything. All the dialogue is within. The only reason you think it's so hard is because like we have been conditioned as a society to not meta talk about our emotions. Like you're just supposed to be like, I'm pissed at you and then stop it there. You're not allowed to talk about like the dualism of like the non-dualism of like, hey, there's a part of me that really loves you and there's a part of me that really hates you. Like that's just weird. It's like, because then like we perceive it as like an efficient society. It's like, oh no, why'd you even bring it up? You're not bringing anything constructive to the table. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. Like, but like think about how many more problems that causes. It's just like, I don't know how, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's just weird. Like, do you guys get that? It's just like weird to do that. Like, it just makes everything so much more awkward when you're like that. Like, why are we doing these mental gymnastics right now? It's just so weird. Like, it takes so much more effort, like, at least later. Like it takes so much it takes so much effort, it takes so much work. It's just, guys, let's just stop. Like let's just stop, okay? Just let's just chill out and have just say what's on your mind. For one conversation, just say what's on your mind. Because you don't say everything that's on your mind. You just blow up and then you only say the inflammatory stuff. That's the only time you're honest with your emotions, is when it's reached a breaking point. And at that point, you don't want to listen to the nuance. That's not actually you being genuine. Raw and genuine are actually not the same thing. Genuine is acknowledging all the different parts of yourself. Raw is when a part of you is so desperate to come out that it bursts open and it doesn't leave any room for anything else. In order to break out of its cage, it destroyed everything else in its path. Because like when you're angry, you're not like I'm angry, but also there's a part of me that loves you. Like you're not like, it's not like the movies. What you do is you just say like, you're a terrible person. Screw you. I hate you. Like there's no nuance whenever you break down. So that's why I'm saying, instead of breaking down when you're calm, I think it's genuinely just better in pretty much every sense I think it's just better in literally like every single possible way for you to just straight up go up to someone and like say the nuances, say all sides of the story. Say like even if you sound like a jumbled mess, trust me, it will make some sort of sense to the other person because they'll understand how conflicted you are. So you need to be like, yeah, I feel like see, I'm just so say that. Say I feel so conflicted and confused. That's such a beautiful thing to say. Say like, and then everything you say after makes actual sense because you're not claiming to have any sort of answer. We always think that the reason we should communicate is because we come to the other person with an answer. That is the exact opposite of why we should communicate with people. We don't have the answer. Neither of you have the answer. That's what communication's about. You talk about it because that's what people think communication is. And look what happens. Everyone comes to each other with answers. And then what happens? No one's actually listening to the other person. They come with their answer and they're like, oh, they're not even listening because they didn't take my side and I didn't convince them. So they probably weren't listening to me. Like, that's not what communication is. It's just not. Like, and so in order to communicate with people, like, just like say like, yeah, I'm really conflicted because there's this part of me that really likes you. There's this part of me that's really angry at you. There's even a part of me that gets mad at me for even admitting that I like you and stuff like that. Like all these jumbled thoughts, like, trust me, when I have my best communication when I am my least put together. Like in the sense, in not this, because like I can present, do you guys get this? Like you can present the chaos that is your mind in a valid way that doesn't need to provide something of like, just because you're not providing a solution does not mean you're not providing value. It is providing value to simply admit that you don't have the solution and then dump what you have onto the other person and say, like, can we get to the bottom of this? Can we fix this? Is this something that's like salvageable? And so, yeah, no, once you're able to give all this raw stuff, because like, it's okay if it's chaotic. It's okay if it's contradictory. It's okay if you're not providing a solution. Just dump it all out. But all the little thoughts you have about needing to preface it and everything like that, actually just preface it. Don't not preface it because you're like, oh, that would be so awkward. Preface it. Just straight up say, hey, I'm conflicted. Hey, there's parts of me that don't make sense. I'm worried about not making sense to you, and I'm worried that I'm coming off as crazy right now. Hey, I feel really awkward even talking like this in a formal way. I learned it from some guy on Twitch, and I don't know how effective it's going to be because I don't really know what he's talking about. Like, literally, disclose all of it. We always say less because we're worried about controlling what the other person does. Do you guys get that? The reason we're not real with people is because like the more we say, the more factors we need that are out of our control. And this is why communication stagnates. Because it's like, oh, well, the more I say, the more likely they think I'm awkward. But do you guys get how like that's like insane to think? Like even if they thought you were awkward, how much worse is it for you to willingly withhold information? How well has that worked out for you in the past? That you willingly withhold information out of fear that the other person is going to think blah, blah, blah about you. How good is the communication when you do that? How effective has it? How many times have you walked away from that interaction being like, good, I really feel heard and I feel like we made a lot of progress? Like never. Like literally like never. Like, when has that ever happened? Who is this fictional person? Like, that just, I don't know. I literally, like, I don't have all the answers. But, like, what I do know is that, what I do think that I know is that when you give into that part of your brain that holds you back out of fear of being confusing, you are so much more confusing. Because you're not actually being authentic. Because you're like, oh no, well, it would be confusing if I were to give this person this other thought because that contradicts the thought I just put out there, and that is confusing. You know what's really confusing to someone? Like, regardless of intelligence, you know what's really, really confusing to people? Not giving them all the pieces of an equation and expecting them to figure it out. Like, people are smart. Like, people are problem solvers. Trust me, if you present everything that's going on in your mind, the other person will probably be able to put their mind together with yours and figure out a good way to do this. And it's not, and like, there are also people, there's like a whole separate issue of like, no, it feels like I'm admitting that they're right if I present that I'm conflicted. You want to know what's the beautiful thing that I've noticed? When you tell someone that you feel vulnerable, what they do is they don't attack that vulnerability. When you are that honest and raw with someone, they actually completely change their tune. Don't do this like manipulatively or strategically or whatever. Like, I'm saying like that, like when I'm saying that when you do this, when you do this genuinely and you actually feel vulnerable and you're saying like, this even feels weird because like, I don't want to be vulnerable around you, but I feel very vulnerable right now and it's really uncomfortable. Like, when you do that, the other person actually has sympathy for you because guess what? They are probably afraid to be vulnerable. And what does that do? Increases the shared emotional connection that we've talked about. So like, you're so caught up in and you're so convinced that no, if I only present this information, the conversation will go a particular way because they can't possibly figure this out. Oh no, well, they'll just attack my vulnerabilities. Oh no, well, these things contradict, so I'm not providing something substantial of use. Like, communication is built off of communicating truth. And so whenever you are trying to control how much the other person understands you, what you are actually doing is making it worse because you are only giving them half of the puzzle because you have decided for them that if you were to give them the whole puzzle, that it'd be too confusing for them. But when people have ranted to you about things that don't make sense, I would bet that your mind actually is able to make it's actually able to make it somewhat coherent in your mind because you are an outside view looking in. And so like, that's what I mean. It's just like, I just have seen that when people actually present everything, all of the contradicting thoughts, all of the fears, all of the anxieties, all the things that we have been trained to keep to ourselves because it's not efficient. It would make us feel awkward. It surrenders control. It would make them more confused. All of these things I think are ineffective. The worst communicators I have ever met in my life hold back so much information. And the only time think about when you finally make progress in a conversation. What happens? Is it because they control the information? No, it's something that they've hid from you comes out. So why in the hell do you think that hiding that is going to make it better? If all of the breakthroughs, if we literally think of a breakthrough in therapy or conversation, any context, like, if you think about a breakthrough in any context, what happens? It's something new comes to light. You figure something out. It is not, oh, we controlled it properly. It's like, no, you have more data and it'll make more sense. Because I don't know how to tell you guys this. Your thoughts are never like wrong in the sense that that's like a super inflammatory statement, but I mean it in this very specific context. Like, you saying that thought doesn't make sense or, oh, this emotion of mine doesn't make sense has never made it go away. Because because no matter what, as much as you invalidate it, it is still affecting the way you proceed in a conversation. It is still affecting what you do. And therefore, it is still a factor. So don't ever let your mind convince you that because you're invalidating certain thoughts, that they are no longer factors. Because there's a lot of people who hold back communication because they're ashamed to say certain things about how their mind works. But like, not only in my experience have people been incredibly sympathetic to when you're actually real with them and when you're actually honest with them, way more than when you're actually trying to control what you say, because they can kind of sniff out your BS and tell like that you're hiding something, and that's really scary to people, to know that someone's hiding something but you don't know what they're hiding. Once you actually like figure that stuff out, oh my god, like communication becomes so much easier, because like now everyone has the same information. They know why you're confused, because yeah, those thoughts do seem really contradicting. Hey, have you ever thought that this is the reason that your thoughts are this way? I'm not saying everyone's a psychologist. I'm saying that you don't, a lot of people who are like the therapy friends in their group, like the therapy friend implies that like you're not an actual therapist, but like that, like but the reason is because like you're just good at listening. And typically I find that like everyone has the same amount of like listening comprehension. I think there are good listeners and there are bad listeners, but I think that like when people actually focus on listening and they focus on what the other person is actually saying, and the other person provides everything that they have to provide in the conversation, then a lot of progress is made regardless of intelligence, because people just get one another, because the foundation in which they understand you is going to be based on their experience of emotions. And if every human being knows one common experience, it's thinking that your own emotions don't make sense. And so we know what that's like, and we know what it's like to come to epiphanies of realizing that certain emotions actually do make sense. But like, it's sometimes hard to see the obviousness in a lot of things when like you're looking from the inside, when it's you looking inside. So it's actually very good for you to like, it's very good for you to just share everything, even though we've been trained to be like, well, if I say that I'm angry at someone, that should be like the tipping point. That should be when I like yell at them. And it's like, no, saying you're angry when you're calm is like such a beautiful thing. I do it all the time. Like think of it. Do you guys realize like how busted that is, to be able to like say I'm angry while you're calm? Like, because there's a part of you that's angry. And then like, because the problem with expressing anger is that like as a society, we treat it as like 0 or 100. It's like all or nothing. You can't be, you have to be all the way angry or just a little bit angry. No, tackle it when you're actually still rationally minded, and your amygdala isn't hyperactivating and everything like that, and you haven't given into it yet. Like, that's what like, when this is why people like think about how bad of a strategy it is to be like, I should only say an emotion when it becomes overwhelming. But that's what you guys are doing by keeping everything casual and on the DL. Like, just talk to each other. Just say what you're thinking. It's actually beautiful how much people understand each other when they let go of being understandable. Like, when you let go of all these preconceptions of like what will make sense to the other person, what this person knows, what this person can relate to. When you let go of all of that and you just dump to them and say, yeah, I'm confused and nothing makes sense, and like I don't even want to give you this power to like, because I don't want it to seem like you're smarter than me. Like, even say stuff like that. Literally just dump everything to them, and trust me, unless they are like the worst person on the planet, and in which case, why are you trying to like form anything with them? Even then, you could have a conversation and be like, hey, I just dumped to you, and then you said that felt really shitty, and now I'm like really, really angry at you now. I'm like really angry at you now. Like, I feel the anger bubbling up inside me, but like I don't want it to impede the conversation, but also part of me tells me that you deserve it. Like, These are the type of things that like sound absolutely insane, but trust me, I used to be a terrible, terrible communicator because I used to try and control everything I said. I used to say like, no, that's inefficient. There's no point in saying that. There's no point in saying that. Like, because then they're just gonna say this. I tried to predict the future, and I'm just like that. And then I realized, hey, you know what? I'm actually just gonna say my thoughts and see how other people respond. And you know what? They surprised me. And I'm sorry if like you listen to this advice and like then you happen to run into a string of bad luck and the people who you vent to are actually just like very, very bad people and they just like are not empathetic to you at all. I'm just speaking from my experience and what I understand to be good communication. Um, but that's what I think about it. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say about it. Just be honest. Just be honest. There's going to be, and notice when all the things that tell you to not be honest come up and why they say that. Like, they're going to give you all these reasons, all these amazing, perfectly crafted reasons for why you shouldn't do things that make you feel awkward. But then understand that, like, you're going to feel awkward anyway, so you might as well just lay it on the table. And then and then the part of you that's like, oh no, well, this is contradictory and confusing. Notice when that comes up and say, like, okay, brain, I get that it's going to be contradictory and confusing, but like, wouldn't we rather them have all the data? Why do we think that them having half of the because even if they give you the answer, why are people's answers never satisfying to you? Because you only gave them part of the pieces. And so now the pieces that you neglected and that you invalidated are not only strong because invalidating emotions makes them stronger, but it's also now you didn't give them a chance to help you fix it because you hid that, because you thought the only way you could get the answer to the other stuff is if you had the answer for the other stuff. So just like, it's so much like, it's so easier said than done. Trust me, I know. It's a journey. It's a skill you practice. Communication is a skill. You're not born with the communication gene. It's something that you have to learn, but this is how you communicate effectively. This is what I've found to be incredibly effective. And when I teach this to other people, they become incredible communicators, and all of their personal relationships get a hell of a lot more stable. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts. So yeah, if anyone wants to come on the show and we can talk about psychology stuff, let me know. Message me on Discord, comment on YouTube, come and chat, and and text me in live chat. Whatever you guys want to do. You guys can trauma dump to me and I can try and help you out. Or we could talk, or I could just like, you could just have some basic questions that are like very lighthearted or like not that serious. Like whatever you guys want to do. You could have serious questions that don't relate to you, but maybe like you don't have to trauma dump, but like there's still serious questions, stuff like that. Like, but we can do that. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for coming by, everyone. I think it's a good